Welcome back to another video, everyone. Recently, as you all know, I beat all of the Platinum Relics in Crash 1 on the Insane Trilogy, including Stormy Ascent, and I did say that when I finished them all, I would rank the top 5 worst Platinum Relics. So that is exactly what we're going to be doing today. Now, this isn't a ranking based on how difficult the time itself is, because some levels have a very, very difficult time to achieve. Some have way too much extra time, and you wonder why they even made it the platinum time in the first place. These are simply the top 5, in my opinion, worst levels that were more miserable than the others to try and get the platinum relic on. So I do want to start off with some honourable mentions that did not make the top 5, starting with Generator Room. Maybe a surprise to see this not make the top 5, but there's a few reasons why. The first reason is that it was one of the most fun levels that I tried to get the Platinum Relic on. It's a really good level. It's not too long, it's not too short, so restarting it over and over again doesn't really feel that bad. On top of that, there's nothing that feels unfair when you die in that level. It's either because you didn't make a jump or you were too slow. I was warned about this level. Everyone finds this one difficult, mainly because of the time itself. You have to play nearly perfectly or you will not beat that Platinum time. That's what I thought, at least, until I realized that you can actually make this cycle right here, and if you do, it's basically a guaranteed platinum if you make it to the end of the level. These up and down platforms right here are the key. If you make this cycle as soon as you get to them, you'll basically get platinum, at least that's what I found. A mix of the level being fun to play, and that one simple trick meant that this was not going to end up in the top 5. Next up, on my honourable mentions, this level everyone thought would be in the top 5, I imagine, the lab. Yes, I know, it required 2 parts on YouTube for me to complete this level, but once I figured out a new cycle of electricity in part 2, it made the level easy. I even went back and beat my own times about 5 or 6 times after that. One thing I was doing all the time, because everyone else does it and it works consistently for them, is I would rush through this electric barrier right here and I would get zapped nearly every time. So in part 2 I decided to wait here instead, and it just meant that the rest of the level was on autopilot. I didn't have to wait for a single electricity beam, I could just run to the end. That meant there was only one annoying part of the level remaining, and it was in the first 4 seconds of the level, the first electric barrier. That was still something I could not get down consistently, but it was at the beginning of the level, so I didn't really mind. After that, there wasn't really anything crazy about the level. Without that new cycle that I tried, if I had to actually make it through that electric barrier further on into the level instead of wait for it, this would definitely be in the top 5 worst relics, most likely at the top. But it's a super short level, and after that first barrier, there's really nothing stopping you from getting platinum if you wait for that cycle. Anyway, let's move on to the top 5 list. At number 5, Sunset Vista. Sunset Vista is a very long level, the platinum time being 3 minutes and 41 seconds, and there's certain parts of this level that you'll dread every time you have to retry them. I've placed this level at number 5 because the time itself is actually incredibly easy to obtain. For reference, at the end of my platinum run, this happened. I still beat the platinum time by about 10 seconds. If the timer for this level was strict, allowing little to no error, it would rank much higher. The time was fine, but I had major issues not being in line with certain platforms and landing behind them or to the side of them. Certain moving platforms that I just slam into instead of jump on top of. And I can't describe how much I hate this bit with the stone platforms. Yes, I would rather attempt Generator Room over this. It was more fun to retry. This level was just long, had some frustrating parts, and felt like it just went on forever. Number 4, Native Fortress. Basically the first real tough level that you might face while doing this challenge. It's quite long, the platinum is 2 minutes and 5 seconds. You've got tribesmen that will bash you backwards if you accidentally touch them. What the f- You've got turtles with questionable hitboxes. No. Replay. And let's not forget the vertical sections where you have to go up those spinning platforms and then the jump crates. You know how many times I just didn't land on the jump crate toward the end of the level, the very last part? Or maybe the spinning log decided not to spin. But aside from that, again, just annoying little instances like the turtle thing, which is apparently something to do with the new Insane Trilogy hitboxes. One good thing about the level is that you can do the trick at the top where you can go behind the level for a little bit. That helps at the very least to eliminate some of the level. With this being a fairly long level and having some sections that feel a bit bullshit and unfair, plus it being the first level that you're really going to struggle on for this Platinum Relic challenge, I feel like it had to make the top 5. This is like a reality check, I suppose. You know, if you're playing through the relics and you're like, wow, this is easy, I'm getting all the Platinum Relics. And then you get to this level. This will make you question whether or not you want to continue. Number 3, we have Jaws of Darkness. This is one of the only levels where I would consistently finish it and end up with a gold relic. Normally the difficulty comes in with the level itself, as opposed to the time. So when you finally make it to the end of a difficult level, you end up with the platinum relic. Not this level though. This level, I felt like I would play it to the best of my ability and still end up with the gold time. Worst part of this level is probably the stone platforms, which make 2 separate appearances. Sometimes I just couldn't tell where I was going to land and then didn't land on the stone platform. Looking at Crash's shadow certainly helped a bit, but even then I'd still mess it up from time to time. I finished with gold a few times, like I said, before finally beating the platinum. That being 1 minute and 36 seconds. You've really not got that much time to wait in this level, you have to gun it to the end. Not to mention, the lovely jump at the end, the final jump to end the level. Love it. It's just a massive gap for no reason. At number 2, we have Fumbling in the Dark. You will certainly be fumbling plenty of runs in this level. This is one of the dark levels in the game, where you need to maintain a constant source of light by breaking the Aku Aku crates along the path. Even though Aku Aku has a different purpose here, he still allows you to take a hit without dying. But in most situations it won't matter because without Aku Aku you can't see anything. This level is full of gaps, jumps, moving platforms, axes, spiders. So taking a hit almost anywhere in this level and losing the light means you're going back to the beginning to try again. Because dodging any of those things that I just mentioned without vision is quite difficult. Sometimes you'll lose the light just before an Aku Aku crate so you can spin it and then continue, but in most cases you'll be retrying from the very beginning. This level's platinum is 1 minute and 41 seconds, so already it's a fairly long level, but feels much longer when getting hit results in a restart nearly every time. There's a part towards the end where your Aku Aku times out and you need to spin these rats into an Aku Aku crate further ahead. This was the worst part. There's a few axes and a gap in the floor that separates you from the next Aku Aku crate. In the end, I just ended up memorizing where the gap was and jumping over it and spinning it myself because I could not find a consistent way of doing that. Either the rats were not there, they wouldn't hit the thing, or I'd go too far and hit the axe and lose the Aku Aku crate instantly that the rats just gave me. Very frustrating level. It's not one that you hear about too often. It gets drowned out by Generator Room and the lab and the high road. But don't let that fool you. Or maybe it's just me, maybe I just suck at this level, but this was really one of the worst ones that I tried getting platinum on. And at number 1, the obvious choice, Stormy Ascent. This level was scrapped from the original game due to it being overly long and difficult, and was brought back to life with the Insane Trilogy. Now to be fair, it's a great level, just because it's long and difficult doesn't make it a bad level. But trying to speedrun it makes it a pain to restart over and over again. The time itself for Platinum is 3 minutes and 10 seconds, which allows for plenty of waiting around for various different hazards in the level, but I ended up with a time where I beat it by about a second. And I know which parts I could have improved on to get a better time. First of all, hitting the actual time crates would be useful. But I know which hazards I could have improved on, and let me just say this, from my experience, I know if I tried improving on those parts and tried rushing them a bit more, I would have lost so many more runs attempting to do certain parts faster. So while you can say the time itself is not that bad, people can beat it by 20, 30, 40 seconds if they're good at the game. If you're just playing the level, trying to skip as much as you can, waiting where you feel like it's necessary, you're still not going to beat it by that much. But the level itself is difficult, there's a lot of playing around, there's a lot of different things that you can do, a lot of different cycles that you can try and make, and if you do, you'll get rewarded for it. The time, again, it's not overly difficult, but it will punish you for waiting too much. Again, you can try rushing platforms and hazards at the end of the level, but losing runs at this section is just a pain. It really is a pain. You don't want to get here, rush the stairs, and then fall off of them, which is something that happened to me quite a bit. What makes it worse is that the top level of Stormy Ascent is full of deceptive hazards, like the bird that leads to a platform moving away from you, or the triple platform where the first two retract at the same time. The triple bird is also a terrible way to ruin a run because it's the very last thing that you need to do. Stormy Ascent is a brilliant level with a fair platinum time, more than fair platinum time, but it's still the worst platinum to try and get, in my opinion. The constant restarts, the length of the level, the difficulty of it, and also retrying and failing certain parts that you've already feel like you've mastered at times. It all adds up to being one of the worst platinum relics to try and get, but made me appreciate the level a lot more. But that is my list of top 5 platinum relics. Again, it might not be what people were expecting. People might have expected the lab on there or the high road. Let me know your list down below because I'm really curious to see what you struggle on the most. See if there's any levels that I didn't even consider being on my top 5 list. I think it's interesting. That being said, thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Definitely subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you all in my next video.